through the lot, now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keeps dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
Yes, people, we're back. I'm back in the building. You know what time it is. You know what it is. We are back with another post-match reaction. Leicester versus Liverpool, 3-0 winners for the Reds. Guys, as you can see, scroll across the bottom. Please make sure you smash that like button for me. We are 8 away from 400 subscribers. So please, if you could, obviously, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. But let's dive into it, man. Let's dive into it. Liverpool 3-0 winners, as I said, against Leicester City last night. Very good performance from the Reds. Felt like we had our moments with it. There were moments, obviously, in the game where a little bit hairy in terms of, you know, Leicester City having chances and stuff like that. But as a whole, I felt like Liverpool were pretty decent. Probably give them a rating of, I'll probably say between 7.5 and 8. I didn't think we had to be overly good, to be honest with you, because I felt like the second goal of the game, it came so quickly after the first. Obviously, Curtis Jones getting 2 with Trent Alexander-Arnold scoring a brilliant free kick. And I think that second goal, because it came so quickly after the first, it just killed it for them. Like, they just had nothing left in their arsenal, to be honest with you. And then from there, it was just really control, to be honest with you. You could see that Leicester City were quite deflated. Obviously, this is a team who look like they're going down at this current rate in time. Don't know what's going to happen in terms of their next couple of games. But for Liverpool, this was an important game. Not as important maybe as it was for Leicester City, because they're fighting for their lives and their survival, but it was important for us in terms of trying to get that top 4 place. And we did our job. That is all you can ask from the Reds. I think now we've reached that stage where people don't really care about the performances so much. Not that they've been shit or anything like that. I'll definitely say that, but it's not really about the performances. We just need to get the points, as many points as we can. I think the most we can finish on this season, I believe, is 71. Whether that's enough to get top 4, I don't know. Obviously, as they say, the table doesn't lie. So wherever we finish, I guess ultimately you could say we kind of deserve it in a sense, which is weird. If you looked at obviously how the season has gone for Liverpool, I would say 80% of the season Liverpool have been poor, like atrociously poor, and then there's been that 20% where we've actually been pretty decent in terms of being able to put these runs together. And right now I think we're on one of the longest runs, alongside obviously Manchester City having a longer run, and then it goes Liverpool. And I think what we've seen in this last month or so from Liverpool as a whole is Liverpool still clearly have that DNA that they've built up, obviously, with Klopp in terms of being able to go on these kind of runs. Now, obviously, something I mentioned on the Football Terrace last night was, what is the difference between Liverpool now in terms of the run that they're going on as opposed to what they were kind of doing, you know, before? You know, so what I mean by that is we were on runs before, and then we lost the game, and then you know, everyone goes into meltdown, and it's overreactions and blah blah blah. One of the things I think about is that maybe because it's come towards the end of the season, maybe people are looking at it from that kind of perspective. Maybe thinking to themselves, you know what, it's coming at the end of the season. Maybe you can take that form going into next season. Maybe you can. I have no idea. I guess we'll wait and see, you know, what happens. I don't want to say that we couldn't. Maybe it's because we're seeing some players in better form, you know, at this current moment in time. Again, looking towards the next season, can they take this form now into the next season? Yeah, it is a question that I've been thinking about quite a lot over this kind of run, you know, trying to figure out, because it's so difficult. Because as I said, for me, 80% of the season Liverpool have been crap, and then 20% of the season we've been pretty decent, as I said, going on these runs. So it's like I don't really know, you know. A lot of people, again, rightly, wrongly, whatever. It depends on who you're asking. A lot of people are obviously looking at this run and are looking at the way that Liverpool are performing at this current moment in time, and they believe that, going into next season, we're just going to be a force. Get a couple players in. It's going to be this. It's going to be that, and Trent's going to do this amazing things, and the Curtis Jones prop, and everything just supposedly looks amazing to some people. I'm kind of in the middle because I still think that even when you do watch Liverpool, obviously throughout this kind of form, like I said, the main thing about this at this current moment in time is purely about the points on the board. That is always going to be the main thing, because that's what we need. At the end of the day, that's what you fight for every match day, is that you want to get the 3 points. But then it's whether this is going to be sustainable for next season. I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, was not sitting here at the beginning of the season thinking that off the back end of last season that we would be so poor this season, almost 20 odd points, behind Manchester City, at this current moment in time. That's really, really embarrassing. To then say that we're going to turn it around and next season we're going to then just be title challengers, I do find that a little bit difficult. I don't really see it in that kind of way. But again, I have no idea. I literally have no idea. The only thing I can say for certainty is that Liverpool performing now and picking up all of these points is good for the end of this season. Whether that means that it's going to be good for next season, I don't really believe so. I think there's going to be a lot of teams in contention for that top 4 next season. A lot of teams are going to strengthen. A lot of teams are going to be a lot better than they were this season, us included, I believe. So it's going to be a battle. Whether we go for a title challenge, I still don't believe that we would. I think we're really far off of Manchester City at this current moment in time. I still think it will take us a couple of seasons to get it back into, maybe not next season, but the season after that. I think we could potentially. Again, depends on what Manchester City do in the summer, how they then perform. There's so many different pieces that need to come together. I just think it's going to be a little bit too much for us. But, ultimately, who cares at this current moment in time? We're picking up the points, might get top 4. That's still kind of on the cards. We can see here 3rd, 4th, and 5th: Newcastle, Manchester United, and Liverpool. We've obviously played a game more than Newcastle, Manchester United. We've got a point less than them. Obviously, as I said, we played the game more. If they both win that game in hand, then they're automatically going to be 4 points ahead with only 2 games to go, which then means they just need to win their penultimate match of the season. So there's a lot to play for. But then at the same time, I reckon if both of the teams win their next game, I just think it will be maybe just a little bit too much. I think they will do enough to get themselves, over the line. So let's just wait and see, man. Let's just wait and see. But, when we're looking towards last night's match, these are my ratings for the game. Ali, pulled off some really, really good saves. Distribution was pretty decent. And one thing I did like about Ali last night was he was coming off his line quite a lot. He was basically playing as like that kind of sweeper. I haven't really seen that much. The thing is, I guess it just depends on what team you're playing. Leicester City, no. They got a very, very good striker in Jamie Vardy. Got decent play, not as quick as he was before, but he's still quick. So he can get in behind. And when you've got a striker like that, you've got to be careful. You've got to be really, really careful. And I think that's something that Liverpool, it's the risk that we take. Ultimately, it's what we love to do in terms of playing that high line so we can win possession back and all that, all that kind of stuff. And I think I would like, just against certain teams, just play a bit more smarter than that. And I think last night, if it wasn't for Ali, again, as it has been all season, Leicester City might score a couple of goals. And I think that then comes down to, Klopp and the staff, looking at it just against certain teams. You don't have to do it. If you want to play this high line, you're going to play a majority of games. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But Ali's not always going to save you. That's my problem. He's doing it now. He's in a crazy, he's in crazy form. But that, form is temporary at the end of the day. There's going to come a point where he's not going to be in this kind of form. So then what happens when we start leaking the goals that we should be leaking from all of these chances that these teams are creating, coming in, putting the ball into that space. And then what do we do from there? But ultimately, last night, Ali was really good at coming off his line, reading the game and stuff like that. Distribution was pretty decent. So yeah, I gave him a 7.5. Could have given him an 8, I guess. Got the clean sheet as well. Maybe I could have given him an 8. But yeah, I think 7.5 is pretty good. Konate, decent last night. He handled Jamie Vardy pretty well. Good in his battles and his duels. Picked up a yellow card, as he does. But it was a decent performance. Virgil van Dijk, the same. Thought it was a decent performance again from him. It felt like it was one of those kind of games. Pretty calm, would I say, from Virgil. Didn't have too much to do, but what he did have to do, he did it reasonably well. Robbo, I'm just still not. Maybe this is unfair based upon last night. I felt like I could have given him a 7 to be fair, but it's like I'm giving him a 6.5, but it's like the high end of a 6. If I could have given him like a 6.8 or something like that, but I don't want to do that. I could have, or a 6.9. It was close to being a 7. But I'm just not comfortable really with Robbo at this left centre back, to be honest with you. I think Liverpool really, really desperately need to look at their entire defence, really and truly, both right centre back and left centre back, because I'm not comfortable with Konate and Robertson being there. And I felt that a little bit last night as well. I just felt like, I didn't feel like he was as good as a Van Dijk or Konate. He wasn't poor or anything. No one was poor apart from maybe Henderson and Gakpo. But in terms of Robbo in itself, I don't know. There's just something about when he plays there. I just think that he's just lacking that discipline, in my personal opinion. And it doesn't seem to be changing. And I don't think it ever will change. And I saw that a little bit last night in some phases of play. But defensively, he was okay. But I could have given him a 7. To be fair. But I'll stick with a 6.5. Trent Alexander-Arnold. What more can we say about this guy? It was a very good free kick for his goal. A little layoff from Mohamed Salah. And I think when I'm looking at Trent, in the game in itself, something that Terry mentioned on the Football Terrace about him losing possession so much. I think it's Terry mentioned it in terms of when you're losing like I agree and disagree. At the end of the day, if you're losing possession so much, regardless, it doesn't really matter where that possession is being lost. You're still losing possession, quite a bit. And I think his passing accuracy was only 70 odd or 75, 76%. So it wasn't like it was great or anything like that. For someone like him, especially, to have that kind of percentages, obviously did make a lot of passes in the game in itself, but even still, he lost the ball quite a bit. And it's a good and bad thing. It is a good and bad thing. It's a good thing in terms of maybe if you look at it from a point of where you're losing the possession, how you're losing the ball and stuff like that. You can look at it from that kind of angle. But then at the same time, you look at it from the other side of things and you think to yourself, okay, maybe you don't try that all the time. Maybe you don't waste possession all the time, because ultimately when you do lose the ball, that's now almost a waste of possession now. And then the other team then go on the attack and then it's like boom, 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 boom. So it's a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. When I look at it, when you look at it from both sides, it's good in a sense of he's trying things, and I get that, and you do want him to try it, because he is, as he's always been since he joined, since he made it into the first team, he is the chief creator in the team. One thing I will say in regards to Trent is I understand, people are getting gassed and they're getting overhyped, and it's like, oh my goodness, Trent is this amazing player. Obviously, what we're seeing now from Trent, and what I was saying and what I've said previously about him, is that what we're seeing from him is nothing different than what we've seen from him before. Hence the reason why I'm probably not overly gassed as to what he's actually doing now. I don't see anything different to what he was doing when he was at right back. The only difference is he's doing it now from a central area of the pitch, which then means, in turn, not even it means actually, what's happening is Klopp is now saying to the team to give Trent the ball a lot more in those central areas. But where he's picking the ball up from, in comparison to where he was picking the ball up from before, is now he's picking the ball up from deeper areas, which allows him maybe a little bit more time where it's not just a case of get the ball, whip it into the box. It's now, okay, maybe you can dictate play a little bit more. So Klopp has given him that kind of onus. And we all know about his passing. His passing hasn't changed. It's not any different. He's just getting on the ball a lot more. And I think that when I'm looking at him, I can, again, look at it from both sides. I understand why people are getting overly gassed because he's got so many assists, but he was getting so many assists from right back. So it's like, okay, he's getting the assist again. Great. You know what I mean? This season, prior to Klopp making this kind of change of putting Trent in this position, what we were seeing from him was more about his deficiencies than his actual abilities. And now Klopp has then turned it back onto its head, just like he did before when we were playing with Trent, just normally at right back, was we were seeing more of his ability than we were his deficiencies. It's the same thing now. It's literally the exact same thing, just in a different position. So, long may it continue. Of course, keep up the good form. He hasn't played poorly at all in this position. So, for me, I'm just like, yeah, he's playing decently. He's playing decently, but not more so than when he was at right back and he was doing the exact same things. If anything, it's probably harder. It was probably harder from the right back area because, he's a right back at the end of the day, and to be able to showcase all of his ability from that position from here, it's probably easier for him because he's on the ball a lot more. But before, he wasn't really on the ball a lot. It was always kind of quite instinctive, some of the things that he was doing, quick balls into the box and balls over the top and things like that. And now he's getting the time to pick a pass. And if you give Trent Alexander-Arnold time, he's like David Beckham. They will find that pass. They're so good at finding passes. They'll find those kind of balls. And that's probably one of the reasons why we're going to see his possession loss stats. It's going to be quite high anyway, is because he's on the ball a lot more. So he's going to be trying things. There was a nice little dink that he did in the first half to Gakpo, which I felt Gakpo should have got under control and scored. But, that's Trent. That is what Trent does, so it's nothing more than anything else, to be honest with you. But in terms of last night's game, I felt like he played decently. Fabinho, again, played well, played all right last night. He was good in the transitions, both defensively and in the offensive stats. And I think, again, he's another player. Obviously, it's I've tweeted this out earlier on about, it's funny how Klopp wanted to stick with this 4-3-3 for so long, and it was making players just look, Fabinho, Trent, Henderson, Salah, it was making them just look crap. At one point in time, you just thought, these guys are just really just not at it. And now he's been able to kind of change their roles within the team. And now you're seeing some of these players are, obviously, it's more form than anything, obviously, especially at this time of the season. I wouldn't say that any player is back to their best. I think that would be quite premature, if I'm being totally honest with you. But what we're seeing is they can still do a job within the team and specifically within this kind of tactic. And Fabinho is one of those ones who's been able to, reap the rewards of that because he's been pretty decent, of late as well. So again, long may it continue. Pretty decent, like I said, against Leicester last night. So, good on him. We move on to Jordan Henderson. 6.5. I don't think it was overly poor, but I don't think it was that good at all, to be honest with you. I felt like it was just about above average performance from Jordan Henderson. There's nothing more really to be said. I think when fans talk about him, it is quite over the top at times because you can see what he does for the team in a general sense, and you can see what he was doing for the team last night. But when I do think about it, on the flip side, I do think he does get protected by quite a lot of fans as well, but just because he's our captain. As far as we should be concerned, it does not matter that he's like him being the captain should be the most irrelevant stat. It shouldn't matter. Still need to perform. We don't care that you're the captain. You being the captain doesn't mean anything. You're just the guy who's lucky enough to be on the pitch to be the captain of that team. At the end of the day, if you're not performing, then you're not performing, bro. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're not performing at a certain level, then Do you know what I mean? But we'll see in terms of next season how that kind of pans out for him. Hopefully, he gets not that many games. If I'm being totally honest with you, I think Liverpool really desperately need to look at that position. I'm seeing too many of these kind of like below par really performances from Henderson. But like I said last night, I don't think anyone was poor. He just wasn't one of the ones that really did anything for me that I felt like, oh, great. If he wasn't in the team, I don't think the result would have been any different, to be honest with you. I think like we could have had anyone there and, probably could have done equal. Yeah, probably the same job, to be honest with you. But, it is what it is. Then we move on to Jones, who was my man of the match. I gave him a 9, which is crazy because I rarely give out 9s, but I have been so impressed with Curtis Jones recently. We look at his stats here, 79 touches, 90.9% accurate passes, 2 key passes in the game, shots on target, obviously his 2 goals, dribbling attempts, his ground duels, 815 of them, lost possession 10 times. It's Jones is really, really moving me in that kind of sense in terms of recently. And I think, again, he's another one who in this system, just like a Fabinho, just like maybe a couple other players in this system, in the style and the way that we are trying to play and what we're trying to implement, he, for me, has reaped the rewards the most. I think he's even reaped it more than Trent. Like I said, Trent's doing what Trent does. He isn't doing anything differently. Curtis Jones is doing a lot differently in this position. Curtis Jones is becoming more of a threat in this position. He's adding goals to his game, especially in this recent run. He's adding goals. He's not holding on to the ball as long as he was before. Klopp even alluded to this. Where he improved the most is his counter pressing and speed of play. He thinks that Curtis Jones has improved a lot, and I agree. In this run here, one thing I was saying last night was I think one of the maybe the main factors or the main contributors to why he's probably playing as well as he is at this current moment in time. I think we're in a situation now, we have no one else. Let's call a spade a spade. We have no one else. Thiago's injured. Harvey Elliott's not really deemed good enough in this midfield. He never has been, to be honest with you, but he was playing so many games. And we have no one else. Keita, Ox, these guys are not a part of the team anymore. James Milner's not a part of the team anymore. We have no one else. But that's working into his favour. Before, he was in the team, in and out of the team, but he was in a team where there was no real space for him. Now Klopp has actually, I feel, made a space for him in that team. And because we need him, he now knows, even if I make a mistake, it doesn't matter. I don't need to worry, meaning I don't need to try and overly impress. When we were playing, in that, boring 4-3-3 for so long, you forget even this season, since Curtis Jones came into the team, we've just obviously been banging out that 4-3-3 with no change. It's been the same. You've got your 1 DM, your 2 8s, left wing, right wing, and then your false 9 or whatever. Where was Jones going to play? There was never a position for him, and it just didn't make any sense. And that was one of the things that used to frustrate me because I like Jones. I think he's a decent player. He's moved from that. So I saw someone tweet this out earlier on. He's moved from that role of sell him or put him out on loan to squad player, can fight for a role next season. That's what I feel that he is at this current moment in time. So with this current run of form, anyway. Obviously, whether that continues, I don't really know. And that was something that I tweeted out last night. People need to stop with the recency bias. There was a reason Jones used to get stick because he wasn't showing the potential we had seen at a young age. He's now showing it and is doing the right things. Whether it's a purple patch or not, he's doing his thing right now. And I still stand by that. At the end of the day, I think we're happy that not even now. We're just happy that he's playing well at this current moment in time. But people do need to remember there was a reason, whether that was Klopp's fault or whatever it was. And again, this is why I keep saying about Klopp and these young players and not being able to use them quite well, not being able to, develop them as well as he should be doing, especially when they are naturally talented. With not being able to find a space for Curtis Jones, you stunted the development of a player who, when I was watching Curtis Jones in the academy, especially under Steven Gerrard, fantastic player, absolutely fantastic. Playing off that left wing though, as we can see where Diaz is at this current moment in time. But then I'm looking at where does he fit for the Liverpool team, and the way that Liverpool wanted to play back then, when Jones was coming through into the team, Jones didn't fit that. Then he tried to play him in central midfield. He didn't really fit that either. See him play DM, doesn't really fit that position. He is a player who needs to play between the lines. Always has been, always will be. I don't understand. Like did the lights switch on or something from Klopp and the staff, and they said, you know what, let's play him in the position that he was actually good at. It just doesn't make none of this really makes sense to me anyway, as to why all of a sudden something that a lot of us have pointed out from the beginning of the season before we even kicked a ball about the positions of the team and the formations that maybe we should potentially try out. Why now it's the time to try it out? I don't know, but whatever, we're trying it out now. Curtis Jones, for me, I love it when a player proves me wrong. Always. I don't mind having egg on my face when it comes to these kind of things, because ultimately they've proved me wrong. Hence the reason why I'll always get onto a player like Darwin Núñez. He's someone who, I don't think is good enough for Liverpool. But if he proves me wrong, fantastic. That means Liverpool are doing well. Curtis Jones, it's similar to Núñez because I've always rated Jones. I just never thought there was a space for him in the team. But now that Klopp has changed the way that the formation, there's now a space for him. Heading into next season, what that means for him, I don't know. Liverpool obviously still need to invest in that same position that Jones does play, but it's going to be really good to see, he's a player, we need to have a bench of a bench where we can call upon a Jones or call upon whoever it is, whether people want McAllister. So I'll use McAllister as an example. I don't mind having those two battling it out for those positions. If one's in form, brilliant, he plays. If McAllister's in form, sorry, Jones, you're on the bench, mate. As soon as he comes out of that form, or when we need to just freshen it up to give McAllister a rest, I don't mind playing Jones in those kind of games. Against the teams who come up next season, for example, play Jones. That's what? 3, 6, 9, that's 9 games. That's 6 games, sorry. Play Jones. Play Jones in those kind of games. Play Jones in games, like I said, where you need to disrupt someone. Or if Jones is in form, looks like McAllister, you're on the bench, mate. But guess what? McAllister comes, you need to have that kind of depth. There's no point saying, see quite a lot of people, speaking last night about Jones and saying, yeah, he might save millions. Maybe they're just joking or whatever, but I've seen quite a few serious people saying, oh, I've been telling you about Curtis Jones. This is why we don't need to. Next season, he's going to be in the starting 11. No. Don't have that kind of mentality. It's that type of mentality, which is the reason why our depth has been, in my opinion, largely quite crap since Jurgen Klopp came to the football team, came to the football club, because it's always been about the first 11 and then the backup is just so poor. So you're just like, right, where does anybody even, we can't drop anybody. So if someone gets injured, the team just falls apart. We don't need that. What we need is to be able to say, you know what, Jones, you can have a rest today. Or Kevin De Bruyne rest of 3 games. Do that. But guess what? He then comes back in. He continues that level of performance. And, it's things like that. If he can continue these kind of performances, long may it continue, man. And like I said, he's been someone who has really impressed me in this recent run. And I think that, deservedly he's been playing, and deservedly he deserves a spot in the team. So, as I said, man, long may it continue. We move on to Mohamed Salah, hat-trick of assists. I think that was the first time that he's ever actually got that, which is quite crazy considering all the records he's broken since being at the football club. It's quite crazy that, that was the first time that he's ever, really done that. But, there's always a first time, for everything. Again, a very decent game. Probably should have scored, in my opinion. But unlucky in that kind of sense. But as an all-round, it was a decent game for Mo Salah. And again, one thing I'll say about Mo Salah is this season, again, fans being fans, but this season, when you look at Mo Salah in terms of performance-wise, for me, hasn't really been that good. I'll be honest. I haven't been impressed with as an overall with his performances this season. But Salah has reached that stage, I feel, which I've been seeing quite a lot now. He's gone past the stage where he was putting in performances and he was stat padding. I think that's done now. I don't think we're going to see that. We're not going to see that Mo Salah as much as we were seeing it before. I think that's completely done now. What we're seeing from Mo Salah is it's the stat padding. But guess what? The top players in the world, that's what they do. Nothing for God knows however many minutes of a game, Mo Salah gets a goal. Nothing for however many minutes of a game, Mo Salah gets an assist. A piece of genius. Think over the top, boom, there's a goal. But for the other 89.30 minutes of the game, he didn't do anything. Not to say that was what he was like last night, by the way. Last night I felt like his all-round game, it was pretty decent. It was a pretty decent game. But I think I gave him the high range just because he got a hat trick of assists more than anything. If he took away the assists, I don't feel like his overall game would have given him more than maybe like a 7, to be honest with you. But those hat trick of assists got him that 8.5. That is Mo Salah, though. This is what the best players in the world do. Look at his goals and assists this season, over 40 this season. And if we're being honest, Liverpool fans, if you're really being honest with yourselves, if you looked at his performances, like if you watched him with your eyes, would you think that he's been that good? Probably not. Probably not. He hasn't been that good. He hasn't. You think back to Mo Salah from before and then look at him now where he was putting in the performances and the stat padding. You look at him now, he's stat padding like crazy. Guess what? I love it, though. I absolutely love it. Hence the reason why I'll always back him. I'll always back him just because of that, because it's like for you to be able to be in a position now where, not saying he's on this level, by the way, so please do not get excited, where the Ronaldo's, what Ronaldo was doing. Ronaldo reached a stage where he was just stat padding. Juventus is probably a prime example when I look at Ronaldo. Stat padding. Performances were not really that great. They were kind of poor. If you watch his overall game, he wasn't really doing anything. But guess what? When you need a goal, when you need an assist or whatever, with Ronaldo more goals in it during Juventus time, when you need that you need your star player to just provide me with something, he's doing it. He's doing it. And as I said, this season we're not gonna, and I think moving on, we're not going to see the performance and stat padding of Mo Salah anymore. We're going to see the stat padding of Mo Salah, but there's going to be that moment of genius. There's going to be the assist. There's going to be this. There's going to be these little things that are just his stats are going to just keep going up. But to be able to remain so consistent for so long, you have to give it up to him, man. You have to give it up to him. And he's my guy anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I'll always pick him up regardless of anything. Looking at Cody Gakpo, I felt like it was a quiet game from Cody Gakpo. So I gave him a 6.5. Yeah, I didn't, at one point for maybe like 25 minutes of the game, I couldn't even remember seeing him on the pitch. I think until Trent scored, I was like, crap, Gakpo's playing. Didn't even realize. That's crazy. Wasn't poor. Like I said, nobody was poor, but he didn't really move me in any way, shape, or form. I felt like, again, another one of those players that if he wasn't there, would you have missed him that much? Probably not, to be honest with you. Nice little turns here and there, brought the ball forward at times, but as an overall, yeah. Hence the reason why I'm still a little bit with Gakpo, but we won 3-0, so can I complain too much? I can. Luis Diaz, he was the worst of the performers last night. I keep saying it about Diaz. People keep not wanting to see it. He's going back to that just shoot for shooting's sake, which pisses me off. Like, why do you do? Like, I don't understand why he keeps doing it, because he's not that proficient at shooting. Like, shooting is not one of your main strengths here. Like, in a general sense, I've never ever, even during his time at Porto, yes, he will score your odd goal and all that kind of stuff. And I think people get gassed and it's like, oh my goodness, he can shoot from outside the box, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying he can't shoot from outside the box, because maybe one of them will land. But in the last couple of games, like when I'm watching it, I'm just like, bro, you're just going back to that same Diaz that I kept saying which is you're just on this shooting thing. And it's just like, why? Like, why do you keep shooting so much? I don't understand. Like, you're not that guy, bro. Like, you don't need to keep doing it all the time. Look at his ground jewels. That actually kind of shocked me. I didn't really realize that he had that many even ground jewels in the game, but couldn't really get the beating of Pereira. Pereira was really, really good in my opinion last night. He won the battle between him and Diaz before Pereira came off. But yeah, Diaz obviously just come back from injury. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, in terms of his performance last night, because we praise his performances when he's playing well, since he's come back from injury. So we've got to criticize. And yeah, I felt like last night he was the worst performer of the entire 11, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think we move on to the next game. I think we've got Aston Villa next. Top four is still on. I didn't believe it. I didn't think that Liverpool would be this close. Yet again, obviously, we've had to rely on other teams to do our dirty work, but here we are. Those other teams seem to be doing the dirty work. Newcastle, Manchester United. Will we get that top four for next season? I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm still saying no, but if it happens, then it happens. Then we move into the Champions League. I'd much rather be in the Champions League than the Europa League. I really don't want to have to play these Thursday, Sunday games. Like, yeah, I just don't really want to, be in that kind of position, for next season. But we'll wait and see to see what kind of happens in that regards. But Liverpool 3-0 against Leicester City, deserved win. And we move on to the next game. But guys, please make sure you like, please make sure you share, and please make sure that you subscribe. Leave comments, please keep smashing that like and smashing, the comments and stuff like that. Keep typing them out. Anything you want to ask, anything you want to say on the game, kind of thing, just let me know in the comment section below. I'm G, that is the post-match done, and I'm outie, people.